Good evening and welcome to our 2018 Sault Ste. Marie Candidates Debate for Ward 1 Councillor. Tonight's debate is being held here in Shingwauk Auditorium of Algoma University. We wish to acknowledge that we are on the lands of the Anishinaabe Nation. We also acknowledge that we are on sacred lands, and through the vision and leadership of Chief Shingwauk, we are on trust land set aside for the purpose of education. My name is Trevor Cheer. I'm Assistant Professor of Political Science at Algoma University, and I'll be acting as the moderator for tonight's debate. As part of their ongoing commitment to our local community, Algoma University, Sault Today, and Shaw TV have partnered to present tonight's event. I'd like to run through the format of tonight's debate. All candidates on the ballot for the October 22 election were invited to take part tonight. Seating and question order for the candidates was decided by a random draw prior to tonight's broadcast. Similarly, questions and their order were decided before tonight's broadcast and prior to the candidates' draw. So the first respondent to each question will be based on luck of the draw. Questions were derived from public surveys administered by Sault Today. Questions will be posed tonight by students currently enrolled in political science courses at Algoma University. Thank you to Aishat Niyola, Sophie Priddle, Raphael Valentini, and Rainbow Asiniwe. Once a question has been posed, each candidate will have 60 seconds response time. This will be followed by a 30-second right of response for the initial respondent. With each new question, a different candidate will respond first. When you hear the warning, we ask the candidates wrap up in under 10 seconds. At the end of 10 seconds, your mic will be turned off. I would like to remind all candidates of a few ground rules. Profanity and interrupting candidates who have the mic will not be tolerated. At any point, I may request a candidate stay on topic. At the outset of the debate, each candidate will have 90 seconds to provide opening remarks. At the end of our debate, each candidate will have 1 minute to provide closing remarks. We would like to thank and welcome the candidates who are joining us this evening. Paul Christian, Don Mitchell, Derek Pierce, Sandra Hollingsworth, and Michelle McLeave Kennedy. At this point, we invite opening remarks from our candidates. You have 90 seconds each. We will begin with Paul Christian.
Thank you. My name's Paul Christian. I'm the incumbent in Ward 1. I am a high school educator of business and entrepreneurship, and as such, I work closely with and value our students. I am convinced that we need to build a future for, and most importantly, with our young people. As your counselor, I strive to accomplish what I set out to do. As a young father, I logged 16-hour days for 2 years while I worked and attended school full-time, earning my teaching degree. As your counselor, I sought council's approval to bring together key stakeholders in the community to address issues of economic and social significance during the SR tax crisis. This initiative has developed into the future Sault Ste. Marie project. As your counselor, I created the Sioux Summit, which brought together ex-Siouxites in Toronto area to discuss future ideas for Sault Ste. Marie. These attendees are members of the new Sioux Connect website. These and other expatriates will be asked to join the future Sault Ste. Marie project and to tap into their vast network of industry contacts. As your counselor, I had council salaries frozen during the SR tax crisis, planned the city's first splash pad, and most importantly, worked tirelessly to address all constituent needs. I believe that the best way to get results is to roll up your sleeves and do the work, and if I'm re-elected, I will continue to do so.
Bonjour, Anine. Thanks Algoma University and Shingwauk, Sault Today, and Shaw for sponsoring this and hosting this event. Just a quick summary of who I am. I've been involved in the community for years through minor hockey and sports. I have been part of the EDC board. I have been part of the Chamber of Commerce board. I have been on the university board here at Algoma University. I bring a number of years of experience in business, over 40 years. I am a large campaign fundraiser. As a matter of fact, people sometimes show their pockets closed when I come up and talk to them nowadays. But it's been a pleasure for me to be able to work on things such as the scholarship and bursary fund here in the university, the Northern Ontario School of Medicine, campaign, a commercial campaign for the Sault Ste. Marie CAT scan. But it's enough about what I've done. It's what I want to accomplish. And I'd like to tell you where I see Sault Ste. Marie 4 years from now. You would see a city that has lowered its taxes to all while maintaining the city services. You would see a city that has made job creation and opportunity for its young people more readily available. You would find a community that welcomes, assists, and encourages new enterprise to establish and grow and get rid of the red tape. One other thing, leadership is not about being the best, leadership is about making others better.
First off, I would like to thank both Algoma University, Shaw TV, and Sault Today for hosting tonight's debate. In 2011, I left the Sault looking for better opportunities elsewhere, which I found. In 2014, I returned and was extremely disappointed with what I had seen. Our downtown core was more vacant, crime had increased, and an opioid epidemic emerged, and our transit system was the same despite numerous fare increases. Our roads were also in very bad shape after years of neglect and no investment. We need to embrace new ways of doing things and involving the youth in these decisions. We cannot keep doing things like we have. The world has changed, and it's time for us to change too. That's why I'm running for council. I believe my young age allows me to see new ways of doing things, and using new technology that has emerged over the last decade not only makes staff more efficient, but city services such as transit and road maintenance efficient too. I look forward to all the questions asked tonight, and I hope that I have some good answers for you.
Good evening. I want to say also thank you to Algoma University and our media partners for being here, and to also say thank you for recognizing where we are on this great land. But most of all, thank you for everyone here for attending tonight. I also want to emphasize a few things. As a resident, I came back to Sault Ste. Marie a few years ago. I believe in our community. I'm very proud of our community. I believe in our youth. I also went back to school, so I know exactly what you're going through. It wasn't too long ago I went back to become a nurse. Living here has many benefits. How many of you this past weekend enjoyed Thanksgiving at your camp, a drive 30 minutes away? Or how many of you go out fishing to the rapids? We have lots of benefits here in Sault Ste. Marie that we have to highlight and sell. Raised here in 25 years, I understand business. We have a family business. I understand the struggles. I'm active in our family business. We face softwood tariffs, as an example. We face unemployment. We face skilled labor problems. I understand that. Since I've been on council for only 2.5 years, I have brought knowledge from Toronto, Vancouver, and Annapolis. I lived outside Sault Ste. Marie, which I believe has exposed me to other cultures and sustainable ideas that could enhance the quality of life here in Sault Ste. Marie. Again, I've only been on council for 2.5 years. I have brought social housing for adults with developmental disabilities, 100 women who care. I also changed the finance committee, which was one of my first resolutions.
Good evening, and I'd like to thank everyone for coming. Currently, I work for the school board with students with special needs, and I've worked there for a number of years. So that's what motivated me to get on council. I see the problems in our community on my students firsthand, the poverty issues, the mental health issues, and the other social, economic, and other issues in our community. Currently, I sit as the Labour Council President here in Sault Ste. Marie. I sit on the Ontario Federation of Labour as a Vice President. On both of those committees, I look after workers' rights and mental health issues for working people across Ontario. I've had a strong voice. I sat at the steel table with the steel tariffs when Trudeau came and spoke about the economy in Sault Ste. Marie. I've put papers together for the finance minister and talked about issues that we have here. This is a wonderful community, and we need to build this community, as has been said here already by all of us that are very passionate about building our community, the tourism, the economy, and looking after the issues that we have here, which are the mental health issues and issues of poverty in our community. Thank you very much, and thank you for attending.
Thank you. I'd now like to invite our first question to our Ward 1 candidates.
What is your vision with regard to the taxes and fee individual businesses and property owners now pay in Sault Ste. Marie?
I'm sorry, I can't make out the question.
What is your vision with regards to the taxes and fees individual businesses and property owners now pay in Sault Ste. Marie?
Okay. Well, obviously, taxation is very important in Sault Ste. Marie. but it needs to be understood that to simply say that you're going to reduce taxes over the next 4 years is a little misleading, because 43% of our levy is uncontrollable. There's outside boards and organizations that we have zero control over. We have labor contracts with police and fire that add $2 million a year to our budget. Clearly, we have to work hard to keep taxes down. We need to be competitive. We need to be fair. But we also have to be realistic that the city wants services. We have to look continuously at improving things within the community, the efficiencies, with the goal of keeping taxes down. But to simply say that you're going to keep taxes with 0% increase is somewhat disingenuous, or else you simply don't understand the way the tax system works in Sault Ste. Marie.
I believe you can keep the taxes down. I believe you can lower the taxes. I believe we can keep better control over the taxes. I think if all of us would look at our tax bills over the last 4 years, you'll understand what's happened and where we're going with the taxes. As I knock on the doors, this is one of the things I hear all the time. It keeps going up, it keeps going up. I think we have to control, and we have to take a look at how we can do that. It is not an easy task, okay? And it is something that is controllable if you look at it properly. We had a surplus, if I'm not mistaken, in excess of $2 million this year. That alone speaks to where the tax could have been. Could have been about 2% less. So is there a possibility to maintain the taxes at status quo at least? Yes, it is. And I make a promise, I will not vote for any tax increase.
So with taxes, the best way to decrease them is to grow your tax base. And how do we do that? Is we got more people here. So what we got to do is we got to look at improving what we have here and bringing more people into our city. That way we can lower our tax rate. That's pretty much the main thing that we have to do here. Like Paul Christian said, 49% of the budget you can't do anything about. So you got to improve what you can change and bring the efficiencies there.
Thank you. Really good question. Thank you. Was that yours personally? No. We have basically in the city of Sault Ste. Marie about 12 tax categories. I won't go through all 12, but industrial, commercial, residential, single, multi, and so forth. As a business owner, I know and face this problem quite often. Sault Ste. Marie actually gives a lot of other incentives to small businesses, which I'm happy to say about. When you look at the last 5 years in our trends, we actually, from a city, there's three main pieces that make up our taxes. There's the city, there's the controlled boards, the levy boards, as Councillor Christian was saying, police boards, social services boards, and so forth. And then there's also impact. So there's almost three variables. Bottom line is, let's give other incentives to small businesses as well, which can help to increase the financial incentives and low costs to the real estate.
Thank you. Michelle McLeave-Kennedy.
So as has already been talked about here, in order to lower taxes, we need to build the population, and we need to build business so that we're sharing the tax base more fairly. By building business and getting other businesses in, and as Sandra has said, incentives for small business. Myself, I was a small business owner as well. And so you have to build incentives for people to want to come here. And the downtown, anyone that drives down there, we can certainly see that we need to build more business there and vary the different types. In the Future Sault Ste. Marie project that Paul had spoke about earlier, I sat on that committee, and there's people working in directions and getting things moving in directions to build Sault Ste. Marie and get things rolling here, which will bring some people in and diversify some of the companies. And there has already been some new companies that have come here and relocated. But we need to share the tax base fairly, and that would help with lowering the taxes. It's not going to lower the taxes in that it's going to build a base so that more people are sharing it.
Thank you. We'll now give a 30-second right of response to Paul Christian.
Thank you. In 2015, municipal spending was $115 million. In 2018, it was $113 million. So everybody, we're reducing spending, but you have to understand that there are uncontrollables. I want to make it clear, I'm a tax hawk. I don't like spending money. But if you use the surplus one year, you have to make it up the next year. It's not that simple, and that's the point I was making earlier. You simply can't shuffle.
Thank you. We now invite the second question for our Ward 1 candidates.
What will you do to help improve Sault Ste. Marie's economy, create more jobs, and make the city an attractive place to do business?
Thank you. We begin with Don Mitchell.
I think the first thing that we have to recognize is that 82% of all the economic growth within the community comes from within. We have to be wise and smart about removing the red tape. We have to make it worthwhile for our local businesses to expand and grow. We have to make it fully available for our young people to become entrepreneurs, to look at business startups, making it easy, getting rid of red tape, cutting back on the number of permits and so on that are necessary to operate in this community. We are IT equivalent and supposed to be one of the leaders, and yet we are not putting our permits on IT. So we have to make things more available for the local business, put the concentration where it is. 82% of our growth can come from within.
Thank you. Derek Pierce.
Yeah, so like Don Mitchell said, growth starts at home. So what we have to do is we have to make it advantageous for businesses to come here. We have to talk with our local businesses and find out what we can do for them. Another thing is shifting everything online. You know, the technology exists nowadays that it can be brought online. Why it's not, it's, you know, I have no idea why. So yeah, investing in using that technology that we have to make things more efficient and better for the people that are here, and making it advantageous for people to come here.
Thank you. Sandra Hollingsworth.
And we have to remember in 2016, Sault Ste. Marie was ranked 10th globally for attracting businesses, for being very open to businesses. We have to keep on building on that. The other piece is young. I believe in going to Detroit, Parry Sound, and other communities. In Detroit, they have a wonderful youth program. They actually have places downtown Detroit that they go out and ask the youth to come and put their ideas, start entrepreneurship, start a business, and the city gives them a tax break. That'd be number one. Number two, I believe as an owner of a business, again, incentives. But we have to remember we have partnerships. Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, EDC, and us, we are starting to partnership. We have a trade zone that we're working on, free trade zone, that is unique and is important to us. With regards to attracting businesses, we have to do an inventory of our land and a modern industrial park, which is what we're missing. We have to know what's available for industry. And the last bit is the skilled labor. Use our schools, Sault College, Algoma University, to make sure.
Thank you. Michelle McLeod-Kennedy.
So, very good question. When we talked in the Future Sault Ste. Marie project, we talked about entrepreneurship programs, bringing youth, incentive for youth to start a business, incentive for people to business, and the red tape has certainly been an issue. And the red tape's been an issue for a long time. And that's something that needs to be looked at and something we did discuss. We also need to discuss about attracting, myself as Labour Council President, we need to attract skilled labor and we need to get people here that are trained. And so Algoma University and Sault College has been working on programs with employers to look at how do they get skilled labor in those positions and how do they train for that skilled labor. But we also need to start that back with our students that are younger and get apprenticeship programs going for our high school students and co-ops and those kind of programs so that students are aware of what's out there and where they should go, and so that we can build on that base.
Thank you. Paul Christian.
Yeah, I think the key is to start with the Future Sault Ste. Marie project. That really is a starting point to address not just economic growth, but community development, which is clearly something that we need to work on. If you're going to attract people to Sault Ste. Marie, you've got to give them a city that we're going to be proud of and that they're going to want to be at. So I think that's key. Right now, in terms of stimulus, we have 6 different programs that are underway to help improve the value of properties and to create some kind of tax incentive for business. Clearly, the points were made. We've got to get young people properly trained for the jobs that are available in Sault Ste. Marie. And through the Future Sault Ste. Marie project, we need to work with high schools, the university, and the college to prepare our students to fill the jobs that we may deem necessary and possible in Sault Ste. Marie. So I'm optimistic, but it's going to take a holistic approach, not just taxation, but community development.
Thank you. We'll now give a 30-second right of response to Don Mitchell.
I think it's important to recognize that the university and college are probably two ingredients that are very important to the growth of jobs in Sault Ste. Marie. I had the pleasure of working with your president here at the university and the chief operating officer, Algoma Steel, to look at possible programs that they could instigate so that immediate jobs were available upon graduation. There are a lot of jobs in Sault Ste. Marie. We have to match the training and the jobs that are out there. There are availability. It's important that we work all together.
Thank you. We now invite the third question for our Ward 1 candidates.
What will you do to help ensure good, accountable governance on City Council?
So with me being part of the ratepayers, one of the things that I pushed to get put into council is an integrity commissioner. This is now has to be brought into municipal politics, and I'm sure that with this position in its entirety will help make City Council more accountable. There's also has to be the appointment of an Auditor General, Lobby Registry, and Lobby Registrar, more positions to improve accountability.
Thank you. Sandra Hollingsworth.
A couple of things. Since I've been on council for 2 years, I want to see a real big change, such as the agenda. I feel that the Agenda Review Committee should have at least one, if not two, council people. Second thing, I would like to see our regular council meetings change so that the public can be more involved. Have almost a question and answer period so that right on the spot they can come with their questions. If not at every council meeting, at least quarterly. Very important, I emphasize that. The other piece I think is important is having open houses. We have them at City Hall, that's nonsense. Go out to the public, go to the John Roads, go to the Greyhound games, go out to the area, Station Mall, and be more open. You are the customer, you are our client, so let's listen and go out to you. I absolutely hate to have these open houses at City Hall.
Thank you. Michelle McLeave-Kennedy.
So there is things in place to have transparency on council, and it is definitely going to be need some changes. As I sit as Labour Council President, I have to submit to speak to council, and sometimes when I submit a report to speak to council on behalf of a specific labour union that might be lobbying for changes or might be lobbying for a contract, it's not always approved, and it's not always approved in a timely manner, or if it is approved, then you submit what you're going to say and then it comes back to you, which is fine, but it needs to be open to the public, and as Sandra had said, it needs to be more open to the public so that we have a say, the public has a say as to what's going on. I'm not expecting that City Council is going to be flooded with 200 people coming to sit for a City Council meeting every second Monday. However, it is nice that there's a say there and that it is transparent and that's what's going on.
Thank you. Paul Christian.
Thank you. I welcome rather any transparency initiatives that people would like to bring forward. I think we have made some changes at council. Our caucus meetings are now videotaped. I'd like to see recorded voting on all issues. I think that's one thing that people sometimes get confused with because they don't see the full screen when voting is taking place, but a recorded vote makes everybody accountable. I certainly welcome questions from constituents. I'm a little bit concerned about opening it up at council. I'm willing to consider it, but it would have to be done in an organized, managed way. But I really don't have a problem with transparency because there's really nothing to hide. And quite frankly, it would make our job easier if everything was out in the open.
Thank you. Don Mitchell.
Transparency and accountability is like a marriage. We have to be open and frank with each other. We have to hold each other accountable. If you don't, you can't have a good relationship. The only difference with council and a marriage is that we are accountable to you, the citizenry. It is our responsibility to listen to what you want and where you would like the city to go. It is up to us to hear that. We don't have to have special meetings. We have to be out there within the community talking to you. We have to talk to the business community, as I do on a daily basis, to hear the dissatisfaction of where we are today and what they want for change. I think that's how you have accountability. Listen to the public.
Thank you. We'll now give a 30-second right of response to Derek Pierce.
Yeah, so I agree with both Sandra and Paul. We have to have accountability, and we have to get out there and not just sit at City Hall and wait for people to come to us. You have to get out in the community and be proactive in getting information from the public. We spend lots of money on consultants, and I think Ted Johnson at the mayor debate said it the best. The best consultants we have are the people in the room. And then with Paul, opening up the meetings to the public to ask questions, that I'm a little iffy about, because the council meetings are long enough already. Do we really need them to be longer?
Thank you. We now invite the fourth question for our Ward 1 candidates.
What will you do to ensure a reasonable minimum standard of living for people in your ward, including income security, access to affordable quality housing, and food security?
Thank you. Really good question. There's a lot of good, positive pieces that are happening right now. Algoma Harvest, as you may know, is being led by Mike Delfrey. We are building greenhouses up on the second line area where people can grow their food all throughout the year, including the winter. Second thing, this is going to be partnership with Soup Kitchen, Pauline's Place, and so forth. The other thing is affordable housing. Mike Nadeau, the Executive Director for Social Services, he has a program that he's taking those on social services and teaching them with Sault College and Algoma University how to build on their skills. For example, Bush Plain Museum. Did you know that most of the people down there are social services receiving welfare, but they're also receiving job training? Other things is that they're working with Habitat for Humanity, building houses. These individuals are gaining skills and they're going out and they're basically getting new jobs. So affordable housing for seniors is out there, but more work has to be done. Thank you for asking a great question.
Thank you. Michelle McLeave Kennedy.
That is a very good question. And it was one of the issues that came up when we talked in the Future Sault Ste. Marie project about how do we have affordable housing to deal with the poverty issues, how do we deal with the mental health issues. And as Sandra has said, there's very many agencies working together, and that's how we're going to solve a lot of the problems in Sault Ste. Marie, is by collectively working together rather than in silos, and everyone's starting to move in the same direction. And that's been started with social services, with the United Way, with the food security program, with the Algoma Leadership Table, with the Poverty Roundtable, with all those agencies getting together and going in the same direction. So thank you for your question.
Thank you. Paul Christian.
Yeah, it is a good question, and both the ladies brought up the initiatives that have been underway. I can tell you that I've been on the District Social Services Administration Board for 6 years, and so I understand and appreciate these programs firsthand. I think what's important too, it's not the end of it. It needs to continue to evolve, and we need to discuss these issues with the people most affected. I also want to point out that the District Social Services Administration Board has a plan in place now to provide more affordable housing. In the last 2 years, they've created 30 additional units, most of which can be paid at a nominal fee by the tenants that live there. So not only have we created a very inventive way of providing affordable housing, we're doing it at a minimal cost to the taxpayer. So it's an important issue and one that comes through the Future Sault Ste.
Thank you. Don Mitchell.
I think you've heard a number of the projects that are ongoing now, and I think it's important to understand that we need to continue those particular projects as we go forward. But one of the biggest things that drives and helps the economy, the social services, and all of the people in need in the housing is the overall economy. If we've got a strong, supportive economy, a business community that can afford to share, that can afford to support all the things that we need for our senior citizens, what we need for our people who are on welfare, what we need for the health care. Those dollars and cents have to come from a strong, caring community, which I believe this is. So what should we do over and above? You've heard what's going on, but I think over and above that, we have to continue to help grow this city so it has a better base of support.
Thank you. Derek Pierce.
Yeah, so you've heard some of the things that are going on, and like Don Mitchell said, we have things going on, but we can do more. I think we need to fast track any new developments of low-income housing. Don't prioritize condos over housing. You've seen that with the new hospital site. The city doesn't need more condos. That could have been low-income housing built down there. And then, like Sandra had said, Mike Delfrey is doing an amazing job with that food security. And I know Shoemaker brought it up that he wanted to get rid of excess parks the last couple of years. And I would much rather see the excess parks turned into community gardens. That way the citizens can have use of them and that they will be used for a good idea.
Thank you very much. We'll now give a 30-second right of response to Sandra Hollingsworth.
Social housing is important to me. When I came on council, there's no social housing for adults with developmental disabilities. I pulled together CLA, Community Living in Algoma, autism, and so forth. We are doing a pilot project this fall, building 8 units out of the second line Goulet. That's what I've done so far for social housing. Second thing, at the end of this year, we're going to have 25 housing units through social services. Single adults is the biggest problem right now, and seniors. That's where we need to focus, single adults and seniors for social housing.
Thank you. I'd like to now invite question 5 for our Ward 1 candidates.
To get around the city, cars, trucks, buses and bicycles need good roads. What are your plannings priority for the city roadway? Further, what will you do to improve public transit?
Michelle McLeave Kennedy.
So there is a transportation plan that's in place right now, and it has been looked at. The buses recently were just looked at the schedules and redoing some of the buses. However, that does need to have more done with it. Also, buses that are more accessible, whether they kneel down, whatever the buses do, but we need something that's more accessible for both seniors as well as people in wheelchairs. And that's something that needs to be looked at sooner than later. But we need to build on the hub trail and the bicycle routes that we have here in Sault Ste. Marie and go farther with that plan. And that has been put in place. There has been talk of that. It's just continuing on with the vision and getting people working in the same direction, because we do need to do something with the roads. Of course, then there's also the construction on our roads, but until we have economy rolling and we have money coming in for taxes, there is some roads that certainly need to be looked at to be serviced. As I hear in Ward 1, Chambers certainly needs to have some things looked at. There's some issues there. So thank you for your question.
Thank you. Paul Christian.
This is an area that's going to continue to develop again through the future Sault Ste. Marie project. We need to consider accessibility for everyone. I know we have an accessibility person on staff. We need to look at transit and improve the availability of transit. There's lots that can be done to upgrade our transit system as far as technology goes. The hub trail is very, very important. We need to develop that. It's a key piece of our local economy and something that we're all very proud of. I do believe that we should be looking at the actual master cycling plan, because it is a little bit old. It needs to be revisited. But certainly we need to create an environment that's going to be welcoming to seniors, young, the physical exceptionalities, et cetera. But I think we're on the right track.
Thank you. Don Mitchell.
Transportation. It's been an ongoing problem over the last few years. Number one, we have to address it because, number one, it's not for just accessibility, it's for the working individuals. I've had a number of people talk to me about not being able to get to their work at a specific time because of the change in the scheduling. I think there's opportunities with the buses to change them to a smaller, more economical bus, and it's something that we have to work on immediately. We got to quit studying it. The other thing that I want to talk about is your non-motorized trails. They're extremely important to a community. The hub trail, by the way, is the John Rosewell hub trail, after a mayor who did a heck of a lot for this community. I'm proud of what's happened there. I think these are things that we can continue to expand and must continue to expand for not only the good of the community, but its health.
Thank you. Derek Pierce.
So I take the bus on a daily basis, so I know the system very well. I know the problems that it's having, and I talk to the drivers all the time. There's definitely more that we can do with it to improve it. I know the drivers in this last change-up were not consulted at all, even though the city would like to think, or would like the public to think they were. So to improve that, I would love to see more consultation with both the drivers and the public. And it's always been, I've always been out there saying that we need to improve transit. Using new technology to improve the fare collection system would be a major asset. And also taking the buses and maybe perhaps moving to an all-electric bus system. Fuel cost is a big portion of transit's budget. If we can figure out a way to take that out of the budget and switch to an all-electric transit, we'd save a ton of money there. I know it's going to take a little bit of an investment to do that, but it's worth it in the end. And then transit, like Paul had said, the cycling master plan definitely needs to be looked at. And the hub trail, we should be looking at putting it all around town and not just in one big loop.
Thank you. Sandra Hollingsworth.
Thank you. I believe in research and reading and visiting other communities. I'll tell you what I read so far. For transit, there is called microtransit. And you can actually have an app, and it's like an Uber. I'm not saying we totally go Uber, but we're looking at it as a city to have smaller buses right now on your app, and they come to you, and they have direct routes, library, art gallery, restaurants, and so forth. That's what we're looking at, and that's what we need to do. Second thing, we have failed. We have failed not to include the students, Algoma University and Sault College, to be part of the master bus plan. So we need to ensure that we're reaching out to the students. Third thing is, why are the bus routes going to the populated neighborhoods that most people have cars? Go to the neighborhoods where people don't have as many cars and have more bus pickups in that area, because they depend on the buses. Third thing, I believe in the bike share program. I talked to you in Algoma University, we're going to have bike share programs, so students and visitors can use for the hub trail and vice versa.
We'll now give a 30-second right of response to Michelle McLeave-Kennedy.
Just as has been stated here, we need to move forward on the plan. The master cycle plan, though, was looked at when we looked at the Future Sault Ste. Marie program, and that's how some of the revamping of the transit came about. But definitely we need more transfer places for the transit, and we need the transit to be more accessible for people that are, say, working at 11 o'clock at Walmart or downtown, or so that they can get back home. Because that seems to be the issue that we're hearing, is that there's not that accessibility at later times and earlier times.
Thank you. I'd like now to invite question 6 from our Algoma University students.
What are your priorities for enhancing recreational opportunities for people of all ages in your ward to keep them active, healthy, and happy?
Thank you. We'll start with Paul Christian.
Question. I think one of the biggest challenges we have right now is we have about 75 or 80 parks in the community. The city's evolving. I think what we need to do is work off the Recreation Parks Master Plan. We do need to repurpose the green space that we have in this community. I think that can be a neighborhood by neighborhood discussion and work on those green spaces within each area. Because if you go through the parks right now, they're underutilized. So we have to recognize what we have, but let's ask the people in the neighborhoods what they want. The other thing is, I think that making sure that the hub trail is accessible throughout the ward is important, because people like to use it, but they have to be able to access it. So it starts with a lot of community involvement and input, but we have the green space and the assets.
Thank you. Don Mitchell.
Paul is right. We have the community, we have the assets. The first thing I do for the betterment of the health care of all of us is turn off the cell phones and start to use the facilities. I think it's time that we start to realize what we truly have here in Sault Ste. Marie with the John Roosevelt Hub Trail, with all the amenities that we have at our beck and call. It's usage that we have to keep reminding everybody. Get out and enjoy. Turn off the television. Get out there and walk. Get out there and cycle. Get out there and participate. So do we have a lot of things? Absolutely. This university has got a tremendous amount of activity around it, both inside and outside. So I think as a community, we're providing a fair amount of availability of things to do. We just don't get out and do them. So please turn off your cell phones and get out and do it.
Thank you. Derek Pierce.
Yeah, so I agree with both my counterparts here. We have done a lot of improvements the last couple of years, the splash pad being one of them, the new playground equipment at Bellevue Park, and the disc golf up at Pennerwood. When I was living in North Bay had a beautiful park on their waterfront, just like we do at Bellevue Park, and they had chessboards and more stuff for the people to do in that. So we need to look at what we can do to get more out of our parks. You know, Bellevue Park has a huge amount of space, and it's being wasted. So we should look at perhaps putting a human-sized chessboard in Bellevue Park for the people to use. I know a splash pad downtown was another thing that can be looked at. And definitely improving the hub trail. Once again, when I was living in North Bay, they have a hub trail-like system, but instead of it being a circle with one or two little runoffs, it was a giant circle with multiple runoffs, and it serviced their entire city. So that's something we need to look at doing here.
Thank you. Sandra Hollingsworth.
Thank you. A few things are already being done. We're going to be doing the skate trails as a test pilot, where you put your skates on and you go along the trails. That's going to be done at Clerk Park. But I'm also working with the art gallery right now, and they're expanding. They're going to have a greenhouse where it opens up and people can go in and out. But the other thing is, the art gallery, we have community gardens, but wouldn't it be great if we had flower gardens down at Clerk Park where you can be assigned a plot, build something beautiful, flowers, and then do a competition, kind of like what we do with the city. We have beautification, have plots where you may not own a garden but use down the art gallery. Also, I believe in green infrastructure. Have more green walls on our buildings as well. The other thing too is have an interactive outdoor for the kids, more movie nights. But how can you go out to skate and ski at Hiawatha if you can't get there? We need more transit out to those areas as well.
Thank you. Michelle McLeave Kennedy.
So as has already been discussed, there's lots of things in play that are coming in play in Sault Ste. Marie. 30 years ago, I started coaching baseball here in Sault Ste. Marie, as well as coaching skating. There's been many things that are out there, but we need to somehow get people out to them. There is things available to do in Sault Ste. Marie. It's getting families there and affordability for families. And I think that's a lot of the thing that we need to look at. We need to look at more things that are free for people to do. The skating is going to be awesome. We've had lots of things with movies outside. There's free things at Roberta Bondar with the concerts in the summer. But we have to get people to want to go to them. So we need to, by getting things happening downtown and drawing people downtown with businesses and cafes, people will want to come and want to do things. Like Paul said as well, repurposing some of the parks. There has been some talk with some of the students. My school specifically has greenhouses, and we have gardens outside. And that's something that we need to get students wanting to be outside and do things again.
Thank you. We'll now give a 30-second right of response to Paul Christian.
I directed my question to Ward Specific 1, but if we're going to talk about the global, you need to repurpose Clerk Park to turn it into a young adult park with special amenities. The other thing I think you need to do if you're going to repurpose parks is you need to have a plan or a programming component. You can't just provide the green space, you have to have programming. That's very, very important.
Thank you. We'll now invite question 7 from our students for our Ward 1 candidates.
What will you do to help improve public safety and crime prevention in your ward and across Sault Ste. Marie?
Don Mitchell.
I think that's one of the most important questions and one of the things I've asked more often at the door than anything else. What are we doing about the opioid crisis? First thing is we have to admit we have a crisis. We're no different than anybody else, even though W5 tried to make us out to be something we weren't. How do we do it? I talked with a postman who delivers mail in the area that I'm living in, and he said you wouldn't believe the amount of needles and problems that are lying on the ground as he does his route. What we have to do is give our police more of an ability to police and do the job. 3 cruisers on it at night during the nighttime when there's problems is not something that's going to help us deter vandalism, problems, drugs, because most of our crisis on the drug is coming from people who have to steal and break in and cause mayhem to get money to feed their addiction. So we have to start right at the source, and there's many other areas I'd like to talk to, but.
Thank you. Derek Pierce.
Yeah, so crime is not a problem that we can arrest ourselves out of. There's multiple things that we can do to help combat it. One of them is a neighborhood watch program. I know there's been numerous amounts of them on Facebook, but they're not official neighborhood watch programs. And I find that a lot of people like the idea of a neighborhood watch program, but don't want to do the necessary work to have them implemented fully. Another thing, like Don Mitchell had mentioned, if there's 3 cruisers on at night, we have to look at the police force and see, do they have an adequate number of resources? And if they don't, well, we have to work with them to provide more. And then the opioid crisis is another thing that we have to look at solving, but we can't do it alone. It's going to require lobbying the provincial government. We need to get a drug strategy implemented and written. I know Espanola has one, but we don't. So it's something that needs to be worked on right away.
Thank you. Sandra Hollingsworth.
Thank you. As Ward 2 councillor, my other council mate and myself put a town hall together. We brought the police together with our constituents. We actually had a town hall at Brûlé to talk about the crime situation. We also talked about solutions. If I'm elected in Ward 1, I like to do that again. Bring the constituents right to the police with the police chief and have this open conversation. So more townhouses for solution, or sorry, town halls. As a nurse, I held the hands of patients that depend on substances. I have a relative that's close to me that has a drug problem. I understand there is a problem. I also understand as a downtown associate person, I'm on this committee, we are pre-ambassadors. We're going to start pre-ambassadors downtown to walk through to make it more safe and secure, because we need the police to do their job, and they can't do it if they're doing just social services. Mental health is the underlying problem we need to work on, and Sault Area Hospital, we are working on that. HEAT program is ineffective.
Thank you. Michelle McLeave-Kennedy.
So as has been mentioned here, the underlying issue is the mental health and the addiction. And so part of the crime issue that we're seeing right now is because people are trying to feed their addiction. We need to, one, get rid of the stigma so that people will go and receive the support they need. We also need to get we have programs that are in place, but not enough programs in place. We need to get more people out there. As Sandra had said, there's a program right now that the Rapid Clinic is at Sault Area Hospital, but we need to make sure that people are going there and that they're ready. The service needs to be available. When I see my students talking in the morning about how their parents are waiting for time to see someone, and how we can't wait. We can't wait that time. It has to have a service that's available when people need it, not a 6-month wait or a year wait or whatever that is. And that's what we need to be working on in this community. That will reduce the crime that's happening in our community.
Thank you. Paul Christian.
I mean, it's already been stated that petty crime is the symptom. The problem is the drug and mental health issue. And I think I just want to reiterate the point that the problem that these people are having is really our problem as a community. We can't look at this problem as their problem. It's our problem. If you're talking about building a healthy community, a community where people want to invest and live in, we collectively need to address this issue. I'm proud to say that the local DSAB has just approved the budget for a drug strategy. We're trying to address the issue. We need to be realistic. It's not going to solve itself, or we're not going to solve this overnight. But as Don pointed out, we need to recognize that we have the problem. We've done that. But we collectively as a community need to get behind it. We can't sit back and wait for this thing to solve itself. We all have to take ownership for it.
Thank you. We now give a 30-second right of response to Don Mitchell.
What we have to do is give the frontline people the opportunity to deal with the problem and listen to it. We have to act on their suggestions and ideas. They're the ones dealing with it every day, the fire department, the EMS, the police department. They deal with the problem. We have to deal with the solution. And the solution is listen to them and get it done.
Thank you very much. I now invite our students to ask question 8, our final question for the evening.
What will you do to enhance opportunities for young people in Sault Ste. Marie and keep more of them here after high school graduation?
Derek Pierce.
Yeah. So, like I said, in 2011, I left the Soo to look for more opportunities. So I know exactly what the youth go through in this city. What we need to do is we need to invest and look into more companies like Maker North down at the Bush Plain. I recently went down there to see what they're doing down there, and they're a fantastic facility. They're 3D printing, and they have a variety of other services there. So we need to look at locations like this and invest in them to give our youth more to do, you know. And we also have to give the youth more to do in forms of entertainment and stuff like that. Not everyone wants to go to a bar, and it seems like that's the only thing to do in this town. And we need to look at new ways to provide entertainment to our youth. That way, you know, they're not breaking into cars, and that they have something for them to do with their friends.
Thank you very much. Sandra Hollingsworth.
First of all, I want to say thank you to Algoma University for holding the business business case competitions. That is number one. If we can just tweak that business competition slightly to bring the current issues that are our problem in our city, then the youth can be judged on coming up with new ideas and through the business case. Second thing, I would like to see the Northern Ontario Angels, which is a group that gives out money to more postgraduates. Why don't we have a Northern Ontario Angels group for the youth to help them create job and entrepreneurship? Summer startup programs are being effective, but we need to expand on that. So in the summertime, you can start your own business with a tax-free loan, and that is something that we need to expand. As I mentioned earlier, like Detroit, have these empty stores and give them to the youth to start their own businesses with incentives. And most is co-ops at a younger age, grade school and high school. Start them young.
Thank you. Michelle McLeave-Kennedy.
And so as I had mentioned and Sandra has just mentioned, we need to look at more co-ops and getting students, getting them into programs so that they're familiar with the program and they can move on to things that are in our area. There's fantastic welding programs here. We need some more apprenticeship programs. We need some more people in business that are going to go on to electrical and plumbing and skilled trades and all those kind of things, so that we can keep our youth here because they're familiar with good paying jobs. We need to get more things happening in our economy, which is we're all speaking about, so that we can keep the young people here because they have something to start out and something to move up in. And it's going to be something that we all need to collectively work, both business and the universities, the colleges, the high schools. Everyone needs to collectively work together to get that going. And it's something we've been talking about for a long time. And so as a graduate of Algoma, I stayed here. There's opportunities here, but we have to market ourselves better.
Thank you. Paul Christian.
As I said at the beginning of my the debate, I said we need to build a future not for our students, but with our students. They need to be part of the strategy. They need to be part of the implementation. They should be involved with the downtown redevelopment. Why can't we have students in business and security from Algoma U and Sault College actually working in the downtown core, earning credits while developing the city? We need to sit them down on the future Sault Ste. Marie project and get them involved and ask them what they want and what we should do. I'm a teacher. I teach co-op education. The programs that we're talking about are available. We need to market them better to students. I, for one, am trying my best as a teacher of co-op to do just that. We're making strides. There needs to be better coordination between the public education system and post-secondary. But I want to emphasize, it's getting the students involved in the solution and not doing it just for them.
Thank you. Don Mitchell.
Taking what Paul just said, getting them involved in the solution. The Enterprise Center in Sault Ste. Marie has been operating for a number of years through EDC, and every summer it runs programs for young entrepreneurs to start businesses with grant-free money, and it's been a very big success. Matter of fact, it's one of the leading in Ontario. Those are things that we can do and continue to grow. I think the other thing that we have to do is work with our provincial and federal governments on apprenticeship programs. It is something that we're lagging far behind. If you talk to the business community now, it will tell you it has lots of jobs available. We have to marry together the programs at the college, university, and starting in high school. We have to marry them with the jobs available in today's times. Those times are changing every day. What was needed 2 years, 10 years ago isn't today. We have to be out there and informing the young people what's available for them.
Thank you. We now give a 30-second right of response to Derek Pierce.
So like I said in my opening remarks, the world has changed. We got to change with it. One thing I think Don Mitchell touched on is our city is getting into the IT sector, and we need to bring more IT jobs here, because not everybody wants to work at a steel plant or work at a casino and stuff like that. So we need to bring more opportunities for the youth. And then we also have to bring in more things for entertainment. I remember when I was a child, we had a mini golf here and go-karts. It would be amazing to see stuff like that return for our youth.
Thank you. At this point, we invite closing remarks from our candidates. You each have 1 minute, and we will begin with Sandra Hollingsworth.
Thank you. The bottom line is we all care about our community. You've heard everyone tonight. I have a passion. I care very much. We have a good quality of life here. I just want to say there's 3 pieces I want to mention to you as your potential councillor. One is I will listen to you. We talk about the macro issues, we talk about job growth, but I know you also want someone to pick up the phone and return your call and come and visit you. I have gone out to my constituents and had face-to-face meetings to make sure that their personal issues are dealt with. For example, a gentleman called me, their fence was broken because of the snowplow. I went and actually brought Susan Hamilton Beach, the Director of Public Works, to the person's property, and the 3 of us had a meeting. So it does boil down to leadership and growth, but it also boils down that I'm here for you, and I'm here to listen to your ideas. We're in this community together.
Thank you. Michelle McLeave-Kennedy.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming and listening to us all speak. And as you can tell, we're all very passionate about what we want to happen in our community. I've been a volunteer on very many boards in Sault Ste. Marie over the last 30 years, with Kiwanis, Rotary, a variety of different boards, and I would really like to see things start to happen. It's been talked about, the studies, but we really need to get things moving, and I'm very happy with sitting on the Future Sault Ste. Marie project and seeing how things are coming together with all agencies. We have to start working together and not in silos, and I think that's where our movement needs to go. And as a potential councillor, I certainly would like to hear from the public, and I have, as I've been knocking on doors, as I'm sure we all have. There certainly has been issues that people are bringing forward, and what I've heard the most is the mental health and the addictions piece. And I think we need to work on that here in Sault Ste. Marie, and I would do my best to work for you in the community.
Paul Christian.
Thank you to everybody who came out tonight. We all want change. However, I don't have to talk about hypotheticals. I think I have a track record of trying to initiate change in the community through my initiatives. As pointed out, we're all well-intended, but we do tend to work in silos. We need leaders in the community that can bring people together and work collectively to get stuff done, because we all want it. We may not agree on the actions that we have to take, but being negative and divisive is not an option. We need to work together. 75% of the work of a councillor is dealing with constituents, and I will continue to do that. I will work hard to make sure that my constituents are happy. The debate doesn't afford me a lot of time to address the important issues, so I ask that you follow me on Facebook over the next 10 days so I could take a much more comprehensive approach with these issues. It's been an honor and a pleasure serving you, constituents of Ward 1, and I ask for your support on October 22nd.
Thank you. Don Mitchell.
Thank you again, everybody here and everybody that's in the audience with Shaw. What can we do as a community to make sure that the voices are heard more clearly? That inclusion is not just top of mind, but the norm. That the Sault Ste. Marie City Council represents the true views of its citizens. Our citizens are engaged and involved in the process. That our young voters feel compelled and to participate, to lend their voices to the conversation. I want to hear how you feel we can move forward and how we can do well. Not just well, but very well. Not one time, but consistently. I have lots of ideas, but this isn't about me. This is about us. Our city, our neighborhoods, our families have to create some transparency in form of conversation. Coming together is beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success.
Thank you. Derek Pierce.
Each and every one of us can only hope that the answers given to you tonight were good enough to help us earn your vote. I want the public to know that I'm available 24/7 if you have any follow-up questions. Any constituents can contact me by email, which I check multiple times a day, by text or by phone call. I hope each and every one of you gets out and votes on October 22nd or sooner at one of the advanced polls. Don't waste your vote. It's a right that we're lucky to have. The future of our city depends on who you elect, and I hope that on October 22nd, you give me that chance to be your representative on council.
Thank you. On behalf of Algoma University, Sault Today, and Shaw TV, I would like to thank our candidates for taking part in this evening's debate. We wish each of you the best in the remaining campaign period. On behalf of Algoma University, I would like to thank our partners this evening, Shaw Television and its staff and volunteers who are here to televise tonight's debate, Sault Today for helping to organize the debate, collecting questions from the public and streaming tonight's event online, Algoma University students of political science courses for asking the questions tonight, Mio's Furniture Fashions for supplying the stage furniture. Finally, we'd like to thank everyone here in Shingwak Auditorium at Algoma University or viewing at home for joining us. We hope that this discussion has helped better inform you about each of the candidates and their respective platforms. We encourage all eligible voters to exercise their democratic right on October 22 and have their voices heard in Sault Ste. Marie's municipal election. Thank you and good night.